In German, there are 7 modal verbs. They are können. Können is like can or be able to. In English, dürfen is like may. Even though the meaning is like this, but you cannot directly use them very similar to in English because there are certain differences in how friendlier you want to say something. Here, third one is wollen, right? So in English, it is normal that you will say, I want a cup of tea. But in German, if you use this ich will or something like that, then it is considered a little bit stronger and unfriendly. So in those cases, möchten is used. Möchten is most often used in German and it is considered more friendlier compared to wollen. So please hear until end of this video. You will have more tips and tricks and when to use which modal verb in German compared to English and the differences. So let's go to next one. Fourth, müssen. Müssen is like must. So where you want to say you must do your homework. Wir müssen unsere Hausaufgaben machen. It's like we must do our homework. In those cases you could use müssen. Mostly this is very similar to English. There is no much difference. Sollen. Sollen is like shall. Here there are little bit differences between English and using it in German. Mögen. Mögen, next mögen is like. I like. Ich mag. Kaffee. So something like that. You could use mögen. Let's see few examples and sentences and differences. So in sentences, when you are using these modal verbs, they will get conjugated. So you have to understand these conjugations based on whether first person, second person or third person. But one good thing is, like you could see that it is highlighted already, first person singular and third person singular, RCS, they always have the same conjugated form. So it is much easier to remember. Ich muss Hausaufgaben machen. Er muss Hausaufgaben machen. So muss is same, but in other forms, in you it is different. And another one more similarity is like wir. Wir müssen is almost similar to the respectful form here, müssen. So this is little bit easier to remember. You could use a actual modal verb for these and also here. So this is much easier. Only thing you have to remember on conjugation is for ich, du and ihr. Alright, so why this is getting conjugated, right? In a sentence we will see how the difference is. Generally the modal verbs, there are few sentences where you could use only the modal verb and create a sentence, but in general the modal verbs come together with an additional main verb. These modal verbs add whether it is a respectful form or order or an unfriendly way, what you want to say, and it adds some intensity to this main verb. So here, ich kann dir helfen. You can also say ich helfe dir. It's also a sentence, right? But here, I can. Sometimes you might need to say, I would like to help you, but I do not have time. Something like that, right? These are the various ways to express some additional intensity to your verb. So in always, if you see, your modal verb will get conjugated and your main verb will always remain there in infinite form. There is no change to your main verb in all the sentences, and you could also notice that mostly it will come on the end. And the modal verb generally takes the second, here this is the first one in the second word, right? Second word is your modal verb. So to give you meaning, I can help you. Ich kann dir helfen. I can help you. Ihr müsst noch viel lernen. You must learn more. Of course, you could replace this with other modal verb, but then the intensity or the meaning changes. Say for example, hier darf. If you say ihr dürft noch viel lernen, then it is like you are allowed to learn more, right? So this meaning totally changes if you change the modal verb as well. Whether you want to say it like a request or a suggestion or like an order. Du darfst heute früher nach Hause gehen. The actual meaning, if you convert directly to English, you may go home early today. Du darfst, you may go. Whereas if you change this modal verb, then the meaning also will change, will nachher einkaufen gehen. He wants to go for shopping later. Nachher means later. Here wollen got changed to will. Here is like he wants to go for shopping later. He. Ihr sollt eure Hausaufgaben machen. You should do your homework. It's like you must do it, right? Sollen is like you should do it, like it has to happen. It's not like you may or you may not. It is like you must. Somebody saying, ordering, hey, ihr sollt eure Hausaufgaben machen. That means you have to do that. Whereas if you say here, if you use some other modal verb, ihr könnt eure Hausaufgaben machen, it's like then the intensity is reduced. You may or may not do your Hausaufgaben, or it is up to you, something like that. Okay, so that's the difference of using different modal verbs. And here we have seen present, in the present tense, because something that has to happen in the present. And how do we say in the something that has to do with the past event or the simple past? So to tell that, even before we go there, I would like to give you a few tips and tricks as a bonus. So see, möchten is used more often than wollen while speaking in German. In English, we might be using wollen. I want to drink a cup of tea. Most often we will use want, wollen, right? But in German, I want a cup of tea is considered a little bit unfriendlier. Rather, the friendlier way is to use möchten. So that's what here it is explained. Like, ich möchte eine Tasse Tee. This is more friendlier. Most often this will be used. But if you translate exactly from I want a cup of tea, it will be like, ich will eine Tasse Tee. So it is more about grammar and then usages. In day-to-day life, you might be using ich möchte gerne. That's what most often people will be using in day-to-day life to keep things friendlier. So you have to understand the difference. So even though the sentence, both ich will eine Tasse Tee is grammatically correct and ich möchte eine Tasse Tee is also correct. Probably in which context you are going to use it. Probably if you are going to use it to, you are going to tell it to a very close person, probably you could use ich will eine Tasse Tee, but still better is ich möchte eine Tasse Tee. So you get used to it. So even if you are saying in home or you are in a restaurant, so you will always get used to this friendlier way of asking what you want. So what I wanted to say here is usages are different in English and German, even though the meaning you cannot directly correlate whatever you are saying in English. Say for example, I want a cup of tea. Don't directly always translate it and use it in German. It will be culturally and for the people might be a little bit different and they might not consider it very friendly. Okay. So let's go now back to past event, how we will say in simple past. For that, again, to understand the simple past, to showcase that in the sentence, we need a new conjugation, that all those modal verbs get conjugated like this and expresses the past. Ich musste, du musstest, RCS musste. So again it is highlighted, it is almost same. So you could easily remember for ich und RCS. Again it is almost very similar to wir und sie. Okay. So next let's see few examples with sentences. Wir wollten dich nicht stören. Say for example you did not want to disturb your friend and you went to shopping, and then later you explain, hey, we did not wanted to disturb you. So the past event, right? Er musste zeitig aufstehen. He must get up on time. He had to get up on time in the past. Ihr konntet es nicht sehen. You could not see it. You couldn't see that. Ich durfte es auch nicht sagen. I were not allowed to say it. So why I did not say something? Ich durfte es nicht sagen. Here you could see one more thing. This verb, the main verb, is also at the end, even in the past, simple past, and your modal verb takes the second place. Second, here is the subject. You could see all the subject here in the first place, and your modal verb comes in the second place. Okay, so that remains the same. Only part is by saying musste, you are saying something happened in the past. So present perfect. Present perfect is another sense, but it is not often used in day-to-day life. And it is a little bit difficult or complex. So we could see that later. Probably I'll create a separate video on that. So if you like this video, please do like, share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel